Why do smart guys keep texting themselves out of relationships? And what's the one psychological trick that makes women actually chase you instead? You've been there. You meet someone incredible, get her number, and suddenly your phone becomes this weapon of mass destruction aimed directly at your own dating life. Every message you send pushes her further away, but you keep firing them off anyway, hoping this next one will be different. But here's what's really happening behind the scenes and why everything you think you know about texting women is completely backwards. Most guys think constant texting builds attraction. They believe staying in touch keeps them at the front of her mind. But there's a dark psychological reality happening that nobody talks about. And if you don't understand this, you're going to keep making the same mistakes that kill attraction faster than anything else you could possibly do. The first thing you need to understand is the psychology of availability. When you're always there, always responding, always initiating contact, you're triggering something called habituation in her brain. It's the same reason you stop noticing the sound of traffic outside your window. The brain literally filters out constant stimuli. But there's something even more dangerous happening. Every text you send, without getting the response you want, is training her brain to associate you with disappointment. Think about it. You send a message hoping for enthusiasm, engagement, flirtation. Instead, you get delayed responses, short answers, or worse, being left on read. Each time this happens, you're literally conditioning her to feel less excited about hearing from you. It's basic psychology, but most guys are completely blind to it. So what's the alternative? And why does it work so much better than what you're doing now? The answer lies in understanding something called intermittent reinforcement. It's the most powerful psychological principle for creating addiction, and casinos use it to keep people gambling for hours. But before I explain exactly how to use this with women, you need to understand why your current approach is sabotaging everything. When you text constantly, you're giving her what psychologists call continuous reinforcement. It's predictable, safe, and boring. Her brain knows exactly what to expect from you, so it stops paying attention. But intermittent reinforcement is different. It's unpredictable. It creates anticipation. It makes her brain release dopamine every time she hears from you because she never knows when it's coming. But here's where most guys mess this up. They think intermittent reinforcement means playing hard to get or being randomly unavailable. That's not what this is about at all. Real intermittent reinforcement requires you to be genuinely unpredictable because you're genuinely busy building something worth her attention. And there's a specific way to structure your communication that makes her actually chase you instead of the other way around. The key is creating what I call communication loops that never fully close. Every interaction you have should answer one question while raising two more interesting ones. You never give her complete satisfaction because there's always something else she wants to know about you. But there's a deeper psychological principle at work here, and this is where it gets really interesting. When you text less frequently, but with more intention, you're triggering something called the Zeigarnik effect. The human brain is wired to remember incomplete tasks better than completed ones. So when you send a message that hints at something interesting but doesn't fully explain it, her brain literally can't let it go. She keeps thinking about you because there's unfinished business in her mind. But this only works if you're actually doing something interesting enough to hint at in the first place. This brings us to the most important part, and it's probably the opposite of what you expect. The real secret isn't about what you text or when you text. It's about becoming someone who naturally has better things to do than manage her attention through your phone. Because here's what happens when you focus on building your own life instead of trying to insert yourself into hers. You naturally become more attractive, not just to her, but to everyone around you. Your confidence grows from a genuine place because it's based on real accomplishments, not her validation. And when you do communicate, it carries weight because you actually have something interesting to say. You're not just making conversation to stay connected. You're sharing experiences, insights, and perspectives that add value to her day. But there's something even more powerful happening here. When you're genuinely busy improving yourself, pursuing your goals, and building your life, you start operating from abundance instead of scarcity. You're not worried about losing her because you know you're becoming more valuable every day. This shift in mindset changes everything about how you communicate. Instead of seeking validation through her responses, you're offering value through your messages. Instead of trying to keep her attention, you're earning her respect. And here's where the psychology gets really interesting. Women are attracted to men who have their own mission, their own purpose, their own life that doesn't revolve around managing someone else's attention. When you demonstrate this through your actions, not just your words, it creates what psychologists call pre-selection. She starts wondering what you're doing when you're not talking to her. She becomes curious about your life, your goals, your other interests. The dynamic completely flips because now she's the one seeking information about you instead of you constantly volunteering it. But this only works if you're actually building something worth being curious about. If you're just pretending to be busy while secretly obsessing over her response times, you're missing the point entirely. The real transformation happens when you genuinely become more interested in your own growth than in her validation. When your happiness doesn't depend on her attention. When you're excited about your life, whether she's part of it or not. This is what authentic confidence looks like in the digital age. Not the need to constantly prove your interest through messages, but the security to let your actions speak for themselves. Not the fear that she'll forget about you, but the knowledge that if she does, you'll be completely fine because your sense of worth comes from within. So stop texting her every thought that crosses your mind. Start building something worth her curiosity instead. When you do reach out, make it count. Be intentional. Add value. Create intrigue without being manipulative. And remember, the woman who's right for you won't need constant reminders of your existence to maintain her interest. She'll be drawn to the energy and purpose you bring to the world, not the anxiety you bring to her inbox. The choice is yours. Keep texting yourself out of relationships or start building the kind of life that naturally attracts the right person into it.